Well, after 20 long and bloody years, the war in Afghanistan is kind of over, is it? Afghanistan is still very much a mess and could soon become a terrorist safe haven once again. Some Americans are still trapped there. So what on earth do we do now? This is video of one of the last flights out of the Kabul airport. The last flight departing a day before the deadline, reportedly a tactical decision. Earlier this afternoon, CENTCOM Commander General Kenneth McKenzie explained how the war came to an end.
I'm here to announce the completion of our withdrawal from Afghanistan and the end of the military mission to evacuate American citizens, third country nationals, and vulnerable Afghans. The last C-17 lifted off from Hamid Karzai International Airport on August 30th this afternoon at 3:29 p.m. East Coast time. And the last manned aircraft is now clearing the airspace above Afghanistan.
The general said he was 100% certain that every U.S. service member was out. The same cannot be said for U.S. citizens. And the general addressed that, too.
And your message to Americans and Afghan allies who were left behind?
So the military phase of this operation is ended. The diplomatic sequel to that will now begin. And I believe our Department of State is going to work very hard to allow any American citizens that are left, and we think the citizens that were not brought out number in the low, very low hundreds. I believe that we're going to be able to get those people out. I think we're also going to negotiate very hard and very aggressively to get our other Afghan partners out.
So this is now a diplomatic mission. A few hours ago, Secretary of State Antony Blinken said they will hold the Taliban accountable if they get out of line.
We will stay focused on counterterrorism. The Taliban has made a commitment to prevent terrorist groups from using Afghanistan as a base for external operations that could threaten the United States or our allies, including al-Qaeda and the Taliban's sworn enemy, ISIS-K. Here, too, we will hold them accountable to that commitment.
That should be interesting. Doing counterterrorism with our former enemy. Fun. Well, now that the wheels are up and the Taliban has declared complete independence, what's happening on the ground and how do we prevent the spread of terrorism? And what does it mean when we say that America's longest war is over? Joining me to discuss, retired U.S. Navy SEAL officer, Echelon Front founder and CEO, and the host of the Jocko podcast, Jocko Willink, is here. Welcome back, Jocko.
Thanks for having me on, Kennedy.
So how are you feeling today about some of those statements that the war is over?
Well, I think it's very similar to when we pulled out of Iraq and we said that the war was over in Iraq, and then what happened was the embers that were still burning there turned into ISIS, and we had to go back and thousands of more people were killed, and it was not good. And I can't imagine that this is going to go any different.
So Antony Blinken says, you know, we don't have to worry about ISIS-K because we're working with the Taliban now and they are sworn enemies. But it seems as though, and I want you to speak to this based on your personal experience, it seems as though the boundaries in different terror organizations are murky at best and pretty fluid, and you can move from one to the other pretty easily. So, you know, should we trust that the bad blood between those two somehow protects us?
Well, the bad blood, the worst of the blood will rise to the surface in these organizations. The people that are the most extreme rise to the surface because they're willing to do the most heinous things in order to get into power. So there might be a fight, but just like ISIS started to rise to power in Iraq, I think we'll see a similar thing here. And look, the Taliban wanted us gone. And I think that's why they kind of protected the door, held the door open for us on our way outs. And that's like the guards leaving the asylum to the inmates. And as soon as we're gone, look, it's going to be some kind of brutal form of Sharia law, abuse, torture, rape, and murder. And I think the Taliban that's why they held the door open for us. And I think it's going to get even uglier now that we're gone.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. And I don't know how the administration stops that. And also, you know, it's like we have this military campaign for 2 decades, and the Secretary of State is saying, well, now diplomacy begins. Can't you have a military mission and diplomacy happening simultaneously?
You absolutely can. And look, we've stayed in countries before. We got 40 military bases in Germany today and 23 military bases in Japan and 15 bases in South Korea. These are not forever wars that we fought in those places. Those bases actually are the prevention of war, and we could have done something very similar there as well.
You know, I trust the Germans just as little as you do, but still, I think we could close some of those bases pretty safely. The thing that worries me, Jocko, and I'm curious what you've heard about this from some of your fellow Navy SEALs, people who are retired, people who are going over there to rescue Americans. Are there former special operators who are taking matters into their own hands to free stranded Americans when the federal government has turned their back?
Yeah, there's definitely been several different groups that have been out there doing that. And we've definitely been getting reports from the ground, or I've been hearing from people that are on the ground there, that it is not as pretty and not as organized as it seemed in the media. So I think there's going to be some stories that come out later about how rough it really has been.
How upset were you when the U.S. decided to close Bagram Air Base? And do you believe the president when he says it was a unanimous decision? Do you believe that there was no dissent from generals and commanders on the ground who had a better understanding of the Afghanistan context?
No, I don't really believe that, because I think that any private or lance corporal in the Army or in the Marine Corps would have looked at that plan and said, hey, at a minimum, we need a secondary extract point. That's something you learn in basic training. So I would have to say there was most certainly some dissent against that decision.
So what happens now to those Americans? How do they get out?
You know, I'm not sure. I think that the Taliban will do their best to protect these individuals. I don't know if they'll be able to necessarily do that, because, like I said, I think the Taliban just wants us out of there so that way they can live the way they want to live and do it without our presence. And so I think that's what they're going to do. I think that we as a country are now going to have to get ready to go on a different type of offense. We're going to be out of the country. We're going to have to do strike missions against these terror groups inside of Afghanistan. It's going to be harder. They're going to be harder to find. They're going to be harder to fix. They're going to be harder to finish, because they now have a safe haven for planning and training. And that's why I think what we need to do is now refocus and get ready to go on the offense from other locations to keep that terrorist rise as limited as we can.
Are you surprised at the amount of weapons that we left behind? You know, it's like hundreds of thousands of guns, an entire Air Force, tanks, night vision goggles. You know, the list, the inventory list is stunning. Are you surprised by that? And what happens to it?
Surprised, yes, more like sickened.
Yeah.
Seeing those weapons, knowing that those weapons are going to be turned on Americans and on forces of freedom around the world for decades to come, giving up the advantage that we've had over the last 20 years of owning the night. We're not going to own the night anymore now that the enemy has night vision. Seeing the beautiful weapons that have been left behind for these terrorists to use, it's absolutely sickening. And whatever they can't understand or whatever they don't know how to use, they'll turn it over to the Chinese and the Russians so that they can dissect our technology and figure out how to counter it. It's absolutely disgusting to see what's been left behind in Afghanistan.
Yeah, it's unbelievable, especially when in this country they are trying to disarm law-abiding Americans.
Quite ironic, to say the least.
All right, Jocko Willink, thank you so much.
Thanks for having me, Kennedy.
You got to go to bed. You got to be up at like 3:30 in the morning to work out. He's a machine, truly.